For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod driveline components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
WFO! It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro. This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, WFO Radio is back. Welcome back to another week as we get closer and closer to NHRA 2023. This weekend, we'll be kicking it all off at Orlando Speed World Dragway. That's right, the Southeastern Division going to have their first points race of 2023. I'll be there calling the action. So if you are anywhere near Orlando Speed World, you want to see some awesome NHRA machines, come on out. Comp Eliminator, Stock, Super Stock, the .90 categories. We're going to have ourselves a great time. So swing by Orlando Speed World. Got a lot of good stuff happening on this show. Big week last week. Of course, that Tim Wilkerson news was huge. And we talked World Series of Pro Mod. We're going to keep going as, news is breaking and things are happening. We got the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhardt, going to join us a few minutes from now. Just break it down. We'll find out what's up with the CUDA, see what he's up to. I have advanced the ball on my own personal projects. That's right. Project Pontiac, Project 78, Project Poncho, whatever we want to call this super street thing that I got going on. We have advanced the ball a little bit. I'll tell that story. But first, I got to tell you about the people who make it possible for me to go WFO. It's super exciting to think about all that is going on. For the people out there getting that engine rebuilt, Total Seal piston rings, the leader in ring seal technology, Hartford and Keith Jones and Lake Speed and that whole team over there, Kevin, everybody that works at Total Seal, they're ready to take your call and answer your questions. Not so much Hartford. But the other guys are ready to take your call and answer your questions about that engine you're building. They say make them your first call, not your last call. TotalSeal.com. The folks at Foggett. All right, so I'm kind of burying the lead here, or maybe I'm putting the lead right up front, but I shipped out my engine. And before I put it in the crate, what was the last thing I did? I sprayed the runners. I sprayed everything I possibly could, up the exhaust, down the intake, everywhere I could with a little Foggett, just to protect it as best as I could while it goes over the road. I know you're thinking like, Joe, thing's going to get torn down. It's going to get fixed. Just the same. I want to battle all that surface rust. So if you want to battle the surface rust or any kind of microscopic corrosion that happens thanks to condensation when you put it away after, say, Friday time runs at Orlando Speed World in very humid Florida, you need a can of Foggett. Go to Foggett.com. It also works on firearms and many other things as well. FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters. If you spend any time watching the U.S. Streetcar Nationals from Bradenton, watching big money bracket racing over Christmas, you saw that FTI logo roll out over and over again. Not only do they make great transmissions for .90 cars, big money bracket cars, street cars, very powerful top sportsman, top dragster cars, pro modifieds. They can do something for your car as well. So go to FTIperformance.com, find out more. And when the time comes, you'll want to go with the winners. That is FTI. Phillips Connect. Super excited to tell everybody about smart trailer technology. If you have got a truck and trailer combination, you're going over the road with a fleet, you want to keep it safe, you want to keep it on time, you want to keep everybody around it safe. That's what being connected is all about. I love the fact, the cargo loaded, unloaded. Like, hey, man, what happened to our load? Where did it go? Just keeping track of everything in a connected world. Thanks to the folks at Phillips Connect. Go to Phillips-Connect, and you can always email me, Joe at WFOradio.com, if you're thinking about doing something, and I can put you guys together. Bernie Speed Shop. I think about Josh Hart. New addition to the family on the way. Congratulations to Josh and Britt. Great job. But Bernie's got 100,000 square feet of muscle cars, exotic cars. They do consignment. If you're looking to sell, go to their website, give them a like on the social, and at very least, do some browsing. But also, Also, if you've got a restoration project, let's say you've got something going on that you want to have handled for you, you don't have the time, but you got a couple of bucks to put to it, go to Bernie's.com, BURNYZZ.com, and check out Bernie's. Later on in the show, we'll tell you about samtech.edu. We'll tell you about Frank Hawley's drag racing school, the Dragster Adventure, where the next generation of McGahey got a licensed action down there. And of course, Marvin Rodak and Rodak's Coffee and Grills.com, the hot sauces and the spice rubs and everything good. We'll tell you all about them a little bit later on in the show. And on this show, we're going to debut a video, at least on WFO. We played the audio on Ignition last night, but a video that was created down under a memorial for Sam Fennick, the door slammer racer who was killed a couple of weeks ago at Willowbank, Louis Rapisarda, and I believe it's going to be the live streaming debut here in the United States. Friends Down Under have given us permission to play it here on WFO through Matt Clark from Torque Calibration Services. I suggest everybody check this out because it is going to just, it's going to blow you away. The sound, the song, the words, the message, the video, everything great. It speaks to drag racers in a way. They had great racing action down there. We'll talk about it with Reinhart, who joins us now. Welcome, Alan. How are you?
Hey, Joe. I'm great. How about you?
All right. Is the supercharged Hemi still back there? It's hiding behind your head?
It's actually behind the CUDA. I started taking it apart and checking it out and ordering parts and got to get it ready to be a cackle motor.
I love that. I love it. It's going to be a cack. It's going to be cackling. That sounds good. So not going to be hanging off the front of that CUDA. That's a bummer, but a cackle motor nonetheless. Big weekend. The NHRA 2023 season officially kicks off with competition. Division 2. Great weather, of course. Orlando Speed World. I'm super excited. I'll be there, but this is the start. Someone's going to gain some points.
Yeah, and we were talking about it a minute ago before we actually went live. I didn't realize it was starting this early. I knew you guys had the first event. We've got one out here at Wild Horse Pass coming up a little bit later on in February, but might as well go ahead and get to it, right? I mean, it'll be curious to see how many of the cars from up further north, the Division 1 guys and gals, decide to tow down and take part. But if you got good weather, that's a good excuse to get out of Division 1.
There were some changes in like races for points and which ones you claim and all of that in the winter break. We don't need to go into all of that, but I do hope that we get some Northeasterners or people from the Midwest who are trying to escape the snow that come down to Orlando Speed World. Orlando is not that far down. Like I am very far down. Like I'm 5 hours south of Gainesville, right? 4 hours and 50 minutes. And that's traveling at Joe speed, not at truck and trailer speed. But Orlando, not so bad. And great facility. Ozzy and his team, they're saving that racetrack. Frankly, they're saving that racetrack. There is, if they weren't doing it, who would be doing it?
Well, and it's also, it's just a couple of miles. I guess it's an hour and 20 minutes, maybe south of Gainesville. So I guess if you wanted to come down, right, do that. I'm sure somebody somewhere has got some accommodations if you need to leave a truck and trailer park someplace, and then heck, blast on over to Daytona, which is only an hour away. Catch a little NASCAR activity, and then come right up. It'll be time for the baby gators and the real gators, and then we're definitely off and running.
Oh, we could make a lot of money if we had just like a big lot where all the racers could just park their rigs. With all the racing that is going to be happening in, first of all, Bradenton, they own the winter. Bradenton Motorsports Park, which I don't know if you've been there. It's a beautiful facility. Mm-hmm. I haven't been there for a while. I'll be heading over for World Series of Pro Mod, but that team has dominated December and January, like the track that's running. Bradenton Motorsports Park, and they're going to keep that going. Them, Orlando Speed World, the Baby Gators, the Gator Nationals. February and March is like all Florida all the time, not to mention all the NASCAR-related activity. We just had the Rolex 24. A lot of people moving to Florida for a lot of different reasons. The weather, chief among them, because you can race.
Sure, and you have hurricanes and everything. Why that'll liven things up a little bit. No, you know what? If you're gonna have the weather this time of year, you might as well take advantage of it. Tucson stays pretty busy as well. There's a lot of stuff that's going on at my local track here. Not as many big ticket items as you've got going on down there in Florida, but this time of year, you're not racing in Minnesota, and you're not racing in Denver, and you're not racing in New England. So if you've got the weather to make it happen, you might as well open the gates and make it happen.
Absolutely. Back when I used to be a bracket racer on a regular basis, the old Moroso Motorsports Park days that I think so fondly of and trying to rekindle, that was one of the big beefs. They would start racing in February and they would end racing in November, kind of on a, an NHRA similar schedule. And then you would be down December and January, the best 2 months. Like that's it. They'd have the Citrus Nationals Thanksgiving weekend and it would be over. And the best 2 months of weather would kind of go unused. Meanwhile, July, August, September, you'd get a rain out, every week practically. It was 100 degrees. It was brutal. It's good to see Florida people putting their best asset to work.
Well, you have to take a break at some point. The racers need time to go back and regroup and freshen up and do things and, go reacquaint yourself, introduce yourself to the wife and kids again if you've been gone every weekend all year long. So at some point you have to take a break. But no, this time of year is definitely not the time to do it if you're down there. And like I said, I think it's really cool the number of big ticket items that are going on down there, whether it's big dollar bracket racing, whether it's a streetcar deal last week or, the World Series or Pro Mod coming up. You take advantage of it. I certainly would.
What about that headline? It's not necessarily NHRA specific, but it's certainly drag racing specific. Like 539 in a door slammer.
Yeah, in a Pro Mod.
Alan, all right. Like you've been around longer than I have. I've been around a long time now. I've seen a lot of stuff. Just going to the Gator Nationals every year. I saw a lot of milestones, 550s, 540s, 530s. Like I've seen all that. It kind of doesn't add up in my brain that there is a door slammer Pro Mod going 530s, and that's just 200ths off the world record all-time quickest door slammer ever.
Yeah, the Econu guys got a 537 a couple of years ago over on the other side of the world, and that car is stupid fast. I'm sure that Eric's going after it, and he's probably got enough to go get it. I know when I saw that the other day, the first thing I thought of is I remember being out here. I couldn't tell you what year it was, but it had to be in the early 90s, I think. When we were doing preseason testing in Phoenix, and Force went 534 in a Nitro funny car, which was unheard of. I don't think anybody had been in the 30s. If they had, they certainly hadn't been anywhere near that. But 534 in a funny car, and now 539 in a Pro Mod. I mean, it's ridiculous how fast those things are going. But, the guys down at Proline, they continue to work. They continue to do R&D. They continue to refine and try to get better. Now, I have no idea what the car was as far as, weight or as far as blower over drive or as far as I'm assuming that it wasn't the NHRA legal combination. But there are a lot of places where you run Outlaw Pro Mods. And if you're going to run Outlaw Pro Mods, what rules? Just let's see how fast you can really go.
The story that I read on Drag Illustrated, and I'm boning up for the World Series of Pro Mod, so this was a very important race to just to check out. Experimental 7-speed Liberty is part of the combination. They said the engine was out of Jose's championship car. Weight, unknown, but that just goes to show you that if you take some of these rules off, anything is possible, but do we really want that? And maybe we don't. That's the push pull of everything. Like if there was a Formula One, and Formula One isn't even Formula One anymore. They've got a lot of restrictions and rules and miles on engines and transmissions and all of that. But what I'm talking about is genuine, unlimited, like whatever, show up with anything. It's pretty crazy what's possible.
Yeah, and I think there needs to be a replace for that. The experimental transmission, obviously, that's got a lot to do with it. And that's getting closer and closer. It would be interesting to see, to me anyway, if anybody would go to the trouble and expense and the headache of trying to put what basically would be a nitro clutch in there or an A-fuel clutch in there. Because it sure seems like they're making enough power now that you don't necessarily need the torque multiplication that you get from the transmission. And, the beauty of the nitro cars, you hit the gas, the motor jumps right up into its happy place. And then as the clutch slowly comes in, you keep the motor in its happy place and then just keep loading on and loading on. And it seems to me now that those things are making enough torque and enough power. I don't know that they necessarily have to have the transmission for gear reduction, for torque multiplication, but maybe if they could get that where you go up there and hit the gas and it goes to red line and then just sits there and you could start piling clutch on it. Somebody would have to make a pretty heavy investment to see if you could make it happen, but that would be about as outlaw as you could get, I think. And it seems, again, you just look at the numbers. You look at what the nitro cars were doing back then, what the alcohol cars were doing then and are doing now, and it would seem to me that you could make something like that work if you wanted to invest the time and the money to do it.
That is interesting. No, it's interesting the way it goes, and someone will these guys are not doing this for anything other. I mean, obviously there's money somewhere down the line with the notoriety that comes with putting up a number like that. But really, it's a challenge to themselves. That's why so many drag racers are involved in this. They're challenging themselves. Like I say all the time, creating problems for themselves to solve for their own entertainment and betterment of what they're figuring out. Like, oh, we accomplished this goal and we learned these 10 things along the way.
Well, I believe pro stock cars would go a tenth faster or a tenth and a half faster if you gave them a 7-speed transmission, just simply because you can keep the motor in its peak point longer. Anytime that you're making some kind of a change and you're dragging the motor down, you're keeping that peak torque, peak power in the middle of your sweep. So you get up to the top and then you come down, and then you get up to the top and you come down. But if you didn't have to drop it down that far, you could keep it in a sweet spot longer and the cars would be faster. So, they've said for years in pro stock that they could use either an extra gear or an extra disc to try to make sure that engine stays in a happy place longer.
We have been learning a lot from Michael Heiner on our Patreon show, Hear It From Heiner, about exactly that. Of course, NHRA, but like we were saying, they want to keep things under control. You give a new gear, everybody's got to go buy new gear. Suddenly it becomes more expensive, et cetera, and so on. But I'm thinking about Eric Dillard shifting 6 times in 5.39 seconds, Alan. Like, that's rowing the gears.
I'm guessing he's not doing it.
Bang, bang, bang. That would be pretty cool, though.
It would be. I would guess that's some kind of a programmed, automated kind of thing. I don't know that for a fact, but I would think so. But and the technology's out there. There's a lot of stuff that is out there, and that's part of what NHRA's role is, right? Because if you allowed everything, then there are people that would come in and spend the money and just basically chase everybody else out. So you've got to be able to, you've been in a pro stock trailer. I don't know, I did a piece that's on NHRA's YouTube place, if you can go find it, about pro stock gears, about just how many combinations they have, how many gear sets they carry with them, how many combinations they have. They literally put the transmission together about every run just to make some kind of little subtle change. Can you imagine just throwing all that stuff away and starting over again?
No.
Exactly. And that's what you would have to do if you said, okay, guys, we're going to run 7 speeds.
Yeah, not good. All right, couple of questions. Lauren's out there. Lauren's great listener, always has got great questions. What do you think of the chances of Camry Caruso getting her first NHRA Pro Stock win this year in 2023? Asks Lauren.
I think her chances went up simply because of the merger, and not that she was necessarily lacking anything, but having teammates is going to be helpful. Having people that she can go to as, a driver coach or looking for advice is going to be helpful. And having all of that extra information to work with on their program. So I think she's definitely got a legitimate shot at it. She's going to have the power, and it's just a matter of making it all come together. Part of the rest of that equation is going to be, is Erica going to let anybody win a race this year?
Right. Exactly. And we have worked on scheduling Erica beginning of February. Next couple of weeks, we're going to have Erica, the 5-time champ, on for her world championship interview here on WFO. Still got to connect with Matt Smith and several other of our Lucas Oil champs, but we do have quite a few in the WFO archive.
So wait a minute. So Matt Smith will make time for your Christmas show, but the rest of the time he's just too busy? Come on. Come on, Matt. Come on.
Angie was the one who was invited on the Christmas show. Matt kind of just popped in, to be fair.
But still, he was there. So maybe you should just have Angie on the show, and then Matt will be there.
Well, exactly. No, excited about all of that, right? Like Vance and Hines, Gage Herrera, all like Pro Stock Motorcycle has got a lot of headlines during this winter break. But is anyone going to be able to run with Matt Smith? That's the question, right? This guy seems to be, he seems to have things.
If he stays true to his word and dedicates his life to the Suzuki this year, then I think that's going to open things up. He did win one race on the Suzuki last year, but he was flat out. He said, the Suzuki wasn't where he needed it, especially in certain conditions. And that's why he just kept falling back on the Buell. And that's why he rode the Buell exclusively through the countdown to the championship, because he had a comfort level with it. So, if Matt does dedicate the year to the Suzuki, then I think that's going to open up a lot of possibilities.
Oh, there she is. Matt and Angie. They're out there.
See?
Yeah. He's on the Suzuki. I'm on the V-twin, says Angie. And I like that. I like that. They're going to be.
That's the way you started last year, too.
That is true. Now the parts availability has got to be much greater. I don't know what it was exactly last year, but he's had a whole year of collecting. Jimmy wants to know, what do you think about Doug Coletta? Will he win the championship in 2023? This is the way last year started. Speaking of the two, last year started that way as well. But I don't know if there's a team that is in, well, obviously Stewart with Leah, so much ground covered in 1 year. From last year at this time to where we are now, I think Team Coletta with Alan Johnson and Brian Hewson and those guys, I'm expecting a different situation.
I expect the same thing. I'm certainly not going to coronate anybody as a champion, at this point of the season. But I do expect that Coletta car to win multiple races. I expect them to be much more competitive this year. One, now that they've got a year under the belt, and everybody over there should be very familiar with the AJ and Brian program, and they should be ready to go. And two, I think there's got to be a little bit of embarrassment over there. If you look at what they have, parts, pieces, personnel, resources, to not win a race, if that's me, I think I'm going to have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder going into the next year, and I think they're looking to take it out on the rest of the top fuel field. But Brittany's not going to be slowing down any. Steve is going to be angry and hungry to come back and try it again. Antron was hitting his stride towards the end of the year. I mean, right? We've got all the usual suspects back. Josh Hart with another year under his belt. I expect to see him be more competitive and probably make the winner's circle a couple of times at least. So, I don't think there's any way you can coronate anybody as the championship favorite at this particular point in time. But I do expect Doug Coletta to be a whole lot bigger part of the conversation.
Well, exactly. And that was the whole point of this, to get Doug a championship, just like Caps a few years ago. It seems like a distant memory. The greatest driver to never win a championship, Mark Martin, et cetera, and so on. And nobody wants that for a well-liked person like Doug. Not that Doug, his life is pretty great, but
I think he's doing okay.
He's doing okay. He's got that pilot mentality, but he loves drag racing, and Doug can get it done. And so, let's see what happens. That's a sub story, and it's going to make Top Fuel even more challenging. It was great last year, big improvement from the year before, but I would imagine 2023 is going to be just a wild dogfight to make it happen. Henry wants to know, and we're jumping around here today, guys. It's
go for it.
Wherever you want to go. Are the Suzuki teams allowed to use billet cases now? I saw one of these billet cases in PRI, and the answer is yes. That's a good move, right? But please explain why. I'm under the impression that these teams were having to hunt down junkyard parts still.
Pretty much, yeah.
Until this rule.
Yeah, those things have been out of production for a long time. And so that's what you literally had to do. You had to go find used ones. You had to go, whether it was a wrecked bike, whether it was something that was blown up and you hope the cases weren't hurt or whatever. But that was the source of parts. So billet cases, it's going to be better for everybody. They're available for everybody. I believe they're, affordable by the time you buy a stock case and then go through what you got to go through to make it raceable. I don't think that, that they're prohibitively expensive on that front. So I think this is going to be just absolutely better for everybody concerned. Kind of like when they said, okay, we can use aftermarket heads, simply because there weren't enough, or you couldn't find enough of the stock old heads to keep going racing with.
Yeah, and I thanks to Andrew for giving me a little explanation on the billet cases at PRI, and it's a great piece, and just all the effort and work to just get them race ready, and then they're not going to last. Angie says that they are on their way to Gainesville to test right now. So there's a little breaking news. Matt and Angie, they probably put it on social, but here for the WFO audience, she's doing her best to keep him off the V-twin, and they're currently headed to Gainesville to test. The testing is starting all over the place. You're seeing social media of trucks rolling. They're going somewhere. Everybody's going somewhere different and convenient for them. But bottom line is, It's the end of January, about to be February. People got to start rolling and doing some testing.
Yeah. What's the weather like in Gainesville right now? You got I'm just curious.
I will look it up right now. Or one of
You
our
can probably
virtual
find it
teams.
quicker than I am.
Yeah, no, you keep going. You just, you talk a little bit about testing, and I will type in Gainesville into my phone, which I should probably have it already. But we'll figure it out.
I was going to go to air density, but
81 degrees. I
Really?
don't have all that stuff, but it is 81 degrees, high of 82, low of 63. It's going to be sunny.
Okay. Well, definitely good test weather then. You can go down there and learn. So it'll be fun to watch because, Matt said more than once, the Suzuki has more power on the dyno, but we haven't been able to get the clutch where we want it. We haven't been able to get the rest of the package where we want it in order to run short numbers with the V-twin. So if they can get that part of the program down, who knows? But I like the fact that, Matt's not afraid of a challenge, right? He's like, good, we're doing this, we're diving in, and we're going to make it happen. And he said his next goal in life is to win a championship on a Suzuki. So we'll see how it goes.
This Facebook user says, is the Camaro being phased out, aged out? How would this affect pro stock? There's all these rumors about certain names being phased out, aged out with the transition to electric and all that. That having been said, General Motors just announced $900 million for the next generation small block Chevrolet. If they got rid of the Camaro and it didn't exist anymore, which I don't know, man. I just don't see that happening anytime really soon, maybe eventually somewhere down the road, 10 years. But if that did happen, NHRA would adapt. They would figure out some method.
Well, the Camaro would still be allowed to be used for 10 years. So if they decided tomorrow we're not going to make Camaros anymore, it's not like everybody's got to throw them away and have a new car before we get to Gainesville. So there would be, those cars would still be legal. Those cars would still be in competition. And then if time goes on, they would determine, either the racers would or General Motors would, that, hey, this is a car that we want to now promote through our NHRA platform. And then the transition would start. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, if they said, okay, we're going to make it a Malibu, that a number of the Camaros could be rebodied and come back out as Malibus. So you still wouldn't have to go make the $100,000+ investment to build a brand new car. I don't know how many people realize, but there's a lot of Cobalts and Cavaliers out there that have Camaro skins on them. Or at least did when they were going through the transition, because instead of building a new car, instead of paying for a new car, you could take your Cobalts and have a new body put on it.
Absolutely. Jimmy wants to know who you like, the Chiefs or the Eagles?
The Eagles.
And I have a reason for it's very tough for me because, I've got a very strong personal relationship with Casey Wolf, the mascot of the Chiefs. We've bonded over the past couple of years out there when we're at the Heartland Motorsports Park. But for me, Fletcher Cox is a drag racer. And this is a representative of drag racing. He loves drag racing. He comes to our races. He goes to races. He is a perfect example of someone who has got a job and loves drag racing. And he is in the Super Bowl, not like we're buddies at all. I've said, what's up? And he said, yeah. But the bottom line is, I'm rooting for that guy. And also, like 80% of our WFO Patreons are also Eagles fans. So I'm going with them.
I just think, Pat Mahomes is an incredible talent. And Kansas City has got a really good team, no doubt about it. I just believe that right now the Eagles are the best team in football. I don't know that there's anybody, if they're having a good day, I don't know that there's anybody out there that can keep up with them on the field. And congratulations to the Chiefs. They played a good game, and I think they certainly deserve to be there. But I was so disgusted by the officiating in that thing. I was screaming and yelling at my TV, and I swore I wasn't going to watch the Super Bowl. I may have to turn it on just for the ads.
Yes, turn it on for the ads. Exactly. I don't know that the game swung on that. It was definitely weird after analysis. And in all, honest reporting, I received a breakdown. I did not do the breakdown myself. But in the end, the do-over play is what I think we're talking about, was the right call officiating-wise. But it was definitely a bad look to have to go through that, right? Like that was not a good look. And, to end the game pretty much on a penalty, like roughing the passer out of bounds. Ooh, I just feel that's going to be tough to live with.
Well, I have no problem with the roughing the passer out of bounds. He was absolutely out of bounds. It was a shove that wasn't necessary. Yeah, that's 15 yards, tack it on. I got no issue with that. But there were just so many other things that happened during the course of the game. And, yes, the 5th down, that was certainly one that I had a problem with. There was at least one play where the guy took 3 steps and then flattened Joe Burrow. Where's the flag on that? Because if somebody sneezes on Pat Mahomes, they get flagged for roughing the passer. And I just didn't feel like I felt like the officiating was not the best that the NFL had done this year. And in a game that big, I think that the Zebras should be as invisible as possible, not what they were.
They were very visible. That was a very visible game. Of course, I was very busy. I was, doing great stuff. Mikey says, I think Clay is going to be a big part of the conversation this year. I am interested in that. We were talking about, Top Fuel getting more competitive. Perfect example of a team that was out there doing their best with what they had, to now a team that has got way more than what they had, and they're going to be able to step on it when they need to.
Yeah, and I think that, he's certainly going to be stronger as well. I think Buddy Hull being out there is going to be a fly in the ointment, if you will. I don't know how much Trip Tatum's coming out, but when Trip comes out, he's always one, that can mix it up and can really pull the upset on some of the touring pros. So there's just a lot going on out there. I think it's going to be a really good time to be a fan.
Yeah, you mentioned Buddy Hull. The Mike Guger news made me happy because when I first got out to the NHRA over 10 years ago, Mike was like a great guy to me, right? Like real nice, real helpful, answering questions, all of that stuff. Here's this, here's that, and joking around, like personable, made it nice, made it easy. And Mike has been successful over the years, and he's been kind of hanging on the sidelines since, several years back. So for Buddy Hull to get Mike Guger to be the guy to overlook it, that is going to be, I think, a big deal.
Yeah, I think so as well. Mike has been around a lot. He's worked with a lot of championship tuners, and they've been on some championship teams, some of the dynasties. He was on the Kenny Bernstein team way back in the day when Kenny was having all his success. So it's a guy with a lot of knowledge. I don't expect Buddy to come out and win 3 races, but I do expect him to come out and just, like I say, I think their goal is to come out and be solid and qualify at all the races and put on a good showing for their sponsors if they end up being in the right position, I think that they could get out there and ruin somebody's day.
Absolutely. Well, crawl, walk, run, right? If you're Buddy Hull, like the guy's got the want to. He was out there in the beginning. He was wiping tires for Tim Wilkerson. And now, he's a very motivational guy. I don't know that the mainstream audience fully understands what kind of a character Buddy Hull is. So let's get him in some shows. He's got to come out more. He's going to get in the show more. He's going to get more TV time. He's going to be more relevant. And that's what you got to do. It's you figure out how to show up first. And you figure out how to qualify, and hopefully now he's going to figure out how to win some rounds.
Yeah, I mean, we've probably talked about everybody else, but you look at one of the hottest cars on the tour last year at the end of the season was Austin Prock, who was during a big part of the summer. He was kind of a non-factor. I mean, sorry, Austin, but that's the truth. In the countdown to the championship, they came alive, and I think that there's some momentum there that those guys are going to build on. So it's going to be a fun year to be a Top Fuel fan.
Jimmy Ryan wants to know how tall you are.
I'm about 6'4".
Ask him anything, right, folks? Like not anything, Jimmy. Okay, slow down. But
anything. I don't care.
It's like Mujibur and Surgible, right? Like, how tall are you? That is an old school David Letterman reference that one guy got, but he's laughing right now, which is good stuff. Paul Dagrapont is out there. That is great. Lonnie says, and this is interesting, right? Because Zizzo is back. That's another one. They spent the year last year updating their equipment. They got brand new stuff. Zizzo, Trip Tatum, Buddy Hull, TJ Zizzo. Who among the independent teams do you see prospering? That's an interesting question.
That is an interesting question. I'd like to know what Zizzo's schedule is going to be. But I think that, that's always a good running car. It's, when they show up, it's a tougher field, no question about it. I think Tripp is a proven commodity, because he has shown, and not just because he won the race, but when he comes out, that car runs very well. And, having the Lagana brothers to lean on it and having the partnership or the alliance that he has with Team Torrence certainly makes him good. So I think that's a proven commodity. It wasn't that long ago. Josh Hart was one of those part-time guys, and look what he's doing now. So hopefully, that'll that trend will continue on for some of the guys that are getting out there now, mixing it up. They'll be able to find some corporate support and expand the schedule.
That's it. Find the corporate support. Go to the boardrooms. Find the corporate support. Figure it out, and get that money. And let's go out there and race. Let's make it happen. Someone is asking for when the competitors will be announced for the Gator Nationals. Normally that's available. I don't see it just yet on NHRA.com under event info, but event info just kind of popped up a couple of days ago. So I'm sure that is a couple of days away soon.
Well, we're still more than a month out. So, they're still getting everything finalized. And I'm sure that some of the teams aren't ready to make their announcements yet until what sponsor is going to be on the car for this race or for that race. So, most of the guys kind of hold back and then just kind of blast it all out when we get a little closer to the first race.
For those that didn't see the news last week or welcome back to the planet Earth, that Tim Wilkerson, being part of Maynard Wilkerson Racing, a teammate to Tony Schumacher, access to the brain trust and the technology with Joe Maynard. That was a big, big story. It's been a week. We've seen photo shoots. We've seen footage. Kind of interesting to see Wilkerson part of something, part of a team, right? He's always been Wilk himself and his guys, and now he's part of a bigger team. And just to see Wilk part of photo shoots, that's not something that we're used to, but I'm loving it. And I think it's great for Wilk, obviously, and his fans.
Yeah, well, he's had a couple of alliances over the years. He and Bob Tasker were teamed up for a while, not maybe official teammates, but they certainly had an alliance there and shared what they could share. And, he's been out there running the second car from time to time and helping a lot of folks. So it's going to be good for him. There's no question about it. I think Tony Schumacher is also looking to have a bit of a breakout year. They did win the one race last year, but I don't think that they achieved all that they were hoping to. And they made, some big personnel moves in the offseason to try to get the performance of that car where they want it to be too.
JP Gutierrez, who these guys did something so great for me last year. I got to post that picture somewhere other than my Instagram. They all bought WFO t-shirts and were out there rocking them at Norwalk. And I was like, well, look at that guy with the WFO shirt. Hey, there's two. Hey, they're all wearing WFO shirts on the starting line. It was like, JP, seriously, bud, the best thing that wow. I had no idea at that time. I had no idea that they even knew the show, let alone were diehard fans. But he mentions all the rules changes in the alcohol ranks, like 2 steps in top alcohol dragster and like EFI, as I understand it too. That's going to be interesting. What do you think about 2 steps? It's going to kind of change the way we hear starting line, especially when there's a blower car.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many people are going to automatically make the transition over. I mean, my thought is if I'm Sean Cowie, if I'm Joey Severance, I don't know that I need to change. I don't know who remembers, but it wasn't that long ago that 2 steps were allowed. And there were some of this, particularly I'll call funny car guys that were doing it. Then they were outlawed, and then they were re-allowed again if you had a converter car. And I think now, being re-allowed, it's more difficult to say you're allowed to do it with one type of car, not allowed to do it with the other. So just kind of open it up across the board, I think is a good thing. The EFI is I'm kind of in wait and see mode. There have been some guys that were out there just kind of testing the combination and trying to build a database and trying to do. I am not, as of right now, I am not convinced that it's going to be a big performance advantage, at least immediately. I think that there's going to be a pretty big learning curve. If you've been doing this as long as, Norm Grimes has, or Joe Severance has, or the guys that are out there tuning on these things, I don't know that you're just going to throw that away and go, okay, let's go get a computer and see if we can do it. So it'll be wait and see. There's going to be some guys out there certainly that start messing with it. And if they start showing promise, then I think more will switch. But I don't expect to see, 8 cars with fuel injection show up at the Gator Nationals.
Well, we'll see. I think it was at the Stampede of Speed. It's like a blur. But one of the top alcohol dragster teams out there to showcase the EFI, and I stood next to it, and it was the smoothest idle on an alcohol engine that I had heard. Like I could hear the difference at idle, which was very interesting to me.
Was it the Button car?
I think it might have been.
Yeah, because he ran that thing on the division trail out here, not in competition, but he would come out and run at the end of all the qualifying sessions and at the end of all the stuff. And again, just getting information, letting the tech department look things over and trying to prove the combination being worthy. So, we'll see. Some of the Pro Mod guys have made the switch and they seem to be doing okay with it. But most of them, I think, are roots blower cars. There are a couple of screw blow cars that are playing with it, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't expect to see everybody make the switch by Tuesday. I think that it's going to take a little time to kind of get a foothold in there.
Absolutely. And there's a championship on the line, right? So while everybody is switching, if you've got a tried and true combination, you could go out there and pick up some wins while other people are figuring out the next technology. That's that kind of ebb and flow of what do we do? Do we give up a year to learn what's going to be great next? Do we go out there and keep what we've got while everybody's figuring it out? It's going to be interesting. Earl Nichols says for an exact starting line RPM, you can't beat a two-step. Yeah, that's Super Gas Racer talking there. And it is also true. Henry says, I can't wait to see a nitro injected top alcohol funny car. I'm all right with it, whatever. And Derek wants to know, has NHRA has implemented any rules regarding not being able to switch platforms / manufacturers like Matt Smith? Was there a Matt Smith rule? I don't think that there was. I don't recall hearing that. No, it's not. That why would they do that? Like, why would you make that rule? If Matt Smith can do it, it's struggle on him, right? It's a very difficult and challenging thing to pull a bike that hasn't run out of the trailer and run it. Why would you make a rule about it?
Yeah, I don't expect to see a rule. I just don't think it's needed. I mean, one guy's done it in 60 years. So I don't think you need to just automatically make a rule for that.
I agree. What about the sublime green Tony Stewart cars?
What's with sublime green? It's sublime lime. That's the color.
Sublime.
You go back in 1970 and look up colors for a Barracuda.
Yeah.
And it doesn't say sublime green. It's sublime lime.
Lime lime. Wow. Well, then there was some.
Plymouth called it limelight. Okay. I don't think. I mean, anybody that's seen the picture, Ray Charles could look at that picture. You wouldn't have to tell him green. I think you pretty much can understand that's green.
Sublime lime for Dodge. There you go. Yeah. You're right. Sublime lime, or Sublime, as many people have shortened it. Very interesting cars, though. Tony Stewart with his team designers have really gone outside of the box of standard NHRA schemes, right? Like they have been cutting edge since they got here.
No, and I like it. The cars are certainly going to pop, and the old school Dodge fans are going to love it. They brought back a number of those colors when they brought back the Charger and Challenger, whatever it's been now, 10 years ago. And I think that, so it's going to resonate some with the younger fans, but it's definitely going to resonate with the older fans. So you go back in 1970s when they had, Plum Crazy was one, and they had the Lemon Twist was one, and they had the Sublime, and they had, just, a wide variety of real, pop in your face. This is a hot rod. This ain't your mom's car. And I think it's good. And, drag race, there's nothing more in your face than a nitro car. So I think it's perfect fit.
Makes sense to me. I am excited. Maybe they'll cycle through all of those colors over the course of the season, right? Like you'll get your Plum Crazy. And of course, I'm a fan of Octane Red, which is basically just candy apple red. So I'm the boring guy. But we shall see. Taylor says, hoping to see more Nitro School at the track with Alan. It was a favorite of the week for my dad and I at Charlotte. There you go, Taylor.
Well, you want to play Nitro School right now?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, we'll bring Reinhart reveals come to the WFO. I took the Hemi apart. If you don't know the story of the Hemi, I have a 426 iron Hemi in my shop right now that came out of a Nostalgia Funny car. The car had been parked for nobody's sure how many years, and the new owner is kind of restoring it. It's not going to be a race car, but it's going to be a cackle car. And so he brought the engine over and asked me if I'd take it apart and check it out and see what we need to do. So I took it apart. Now, you got to go back in time a little bit. This is one of the pistons out of it. I'm believing because of the compression in it that it was running on alcohol. But can you see that?
Yeah. Yes.
When's the last time you saw wear buttons on a piston? And if you look inside the piston, you see they're actually inserts. If they wear out, you can replace them. And not only do those ride on the cylinder wall and I think, help keep everything moving smoothly, but the wrist pin is also held in place by caps that have a wear button. And that literally rides up and down against the cylinder wall on both sides. That's what keeps the wrist pin from moving. But when I started asking around, let's send out a couple of feelers like, hey, when's the last time you saw this? Terry Morrow, who's the shop foreman at Alan Johnson's place, said, I remember those on Gaines Markley's Top Fuel car in 1974. Frank Manzo said, I believe the last time we ran those was 1978. So these pistons have apparently been around for a while, but yeah, the little plastic or rubber.
That's great. JP says they're graphite, but whatever they are, I haven't seen that ever. I don't know that exists. So that's I have learned something.
I just thought it was kind of interesting when I was taking it apart. And then, you also look at, I don't know if you can see that or not, but
yes.
See the little half circle on there?
Yes.
Somebody should have checked piston to valve clearance a little bit closer when they put this thing together, I think, but maybe that's just me.
No, I like it. See, this is like, it's part detective, part forensic science. You're tearing it apart and you're seeing all these different things and you going back. It's a mystery. I like that. It was good stuff right there. Little Nitro School meets WFO with Alan Reinhardt, and everybody's liking it. This guy says it was back in 77. But hey, if it's together, it's together. That's got to be so cool. Like, that thing is going to live again. It's going to fire up. It's going to run. What do you think?
Yeah, and the engine's actually not in bad shape. Other than the fact that it's just been sitting so long. I've got to finish. Actually, when I get done with this, I've got to go get my fill out my piston order form to get the new slugs coming for it. And the rest of it looks like it's in pretty good shape. There was a few things about it that were kind of wonky, but we'll get the thing ready to cackle.
Excellent. Well, exactly. It's a cackle engine. It's not like you're going out there trying to compete in top alcohol, but it's got to sound good and it's got to look good. And you got the look good part and you're on your way to the sound good part. Anything that we didn't cover, final thoughts as we get ready. I'm heading to Orlando. I'm excited to see our Lucas Oil Series racers, all of that. Is there anything you wanted to cover? Next week, we can dial in on the Super Bowl a little bit more. I'll have results out there in Australia. I know you keep track of that Sydney Dragway, the whole Sam Fennick Memorial. That's tough stuff. Larry Dixon did finish what they would call third, won like the B final or something. Peter Zibaris won. Good to see Australia rolling with their Top Fuel program. Had a great crowd. I was told that was sold out, that they stopped people from coming in and they put it on the live stream on Facebook. But, down under, it's far away, but they are drag racers and they are rolling.
Well, it's summertime down there right now, so now's the time for them to get after it. And, I just think it's cool that so many of the American stars go down there, whether they're driving or whether they're working or whether they just, and a number of those teams, anybody that follows us on this side knows that a number of those teams have an alliance with somebody over here. So if they want a tuner or a consultant to go down there, or if they need, to get some parts replenished and get stuff, then they've got somebody to go to. So it's all a brotherhood. Look, it's the number of people on the planet that burn nitro to make a car go down the drag strip is not that big. So it's, we're all in the same family.
And we are, I'm actually going to debut a video here in a second that says exactly that. Alan, great job as usual. We'll connect next week. We'll have actual results to talk about. It'll be, Lucas Oil Series results from Orlando Speed World, but it'll be a lot of fun as we, get closer and closer. Maybe we'll have some testing results. Maybe, Angie will tell us what they ran.
I bet you can pry that out of her. Yeah, you should be able to get that. Thanks, Joe. Always a pleasure. I'm actually looking forward to seeing the video. I haven't seen it either. So have fun down in Orlando, and I will chat with you next week.
Excellent. There he goes, the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhardt. Thank you very much, Alan. And he just mentioned it is all a brotherhood. On our Ignition show, which is an audio-only podcast, we've got one of our great listeners. His name is Matt from Torque Calibration Services. I talk about it from time to time here on the show. And he has really connected the WFO universe to what's going on in Australia because, we're friends and he puts a face on it. Jimmo was down there and the Reed family and so many people, they experienced a tragedy a couple of weeks ago. Sam Fennick, a door slammer racer who'd been around a long time, was tragically killed. And so they wanted to do something and they put together a song. They performed a song and they put it to music. They performed it and they did a video and they debuted it at the race this past weekend. And so I asked permission and we can play it. And it's it's Matt Cornell and Adam Braun, and it's called Our Church. and it's about drag racing and what it is for all of us and how there is a brotherhood. I'm going to try to play it off my hard drive. I, apologize if there is a pause here or there, but here's the WFO debut of our church, a tribute to Louis Rapisarda and Sam Fennick.
Hey there, my brothers. Can you make some time? 'Cause my state of mind ain't so good. Cause I need to learn I'm not alone. We're not alone. We may not be holy men for all that it's worth. We're all brothers and friends, and this is our church. When we get together, for better or worse, we all understand this is our church. Don't need redemption. What we need is hope, just like coming home where you belong. We find salvation. We can share our stars no matter where we are. Pour out your heart to your brothers in arms. We may not be holy men for what it's worth. We're all brothers and friends, and this is our church. 'Cause when we get together, for better or worse, we all understand this is our church. Yeah, this is our church. I've been there. I've been there. Ooh, I've been there for you. If you go to war, I go to war. Brothers and sisters, we're in this together. Gather round now. If you go to war, you go to war. I go to war. I go to war. Brothers and sisters, we're in this together. We lost a brother, but we still show up and we raise our cup even though he's gone. But it still lives on. 'Cause it's too late to tell you in the back of a hearse. So I'm telling you now, this is our church. May not be holy men for all that it's worth. We're all brothers and friends, and this is our church. 'Cause when we get together, for better or worse, we all understand this is our church. We may not be holy men for all that it's worth. We're telling you now, this is our church. This is our church now. This is our church. This is our church.
Amazing stuff, amazing work. Again, Adam and Matt Cornell. These guys worked on the song. They put it to video. They performed it. The words, drag racing specific by drag racers, in memory of Sam Fennick, Louis Rapisarda, both lost tragically many years apart, but knew each other at the same track. And this is how the Australian drag racing fans, the brotherhood, expressed their grief and tribute and move forward. This past weekend. We played the song on the Ignition show, but now everyone has seen the audio. Hopefully you'll share and get it out there. And I don't know what to say to our great friends down under, but we are brotherhood of drag racing as best as we can. And thank you all for watching and listening to that. Final comments, put your comments in the comment section, guys. I'm going to tell you a little something about my own deal. that I got going on. That's right. Let me see some of the comments as people are on it, right? Leon, great song. The song is great. It is tier worthy. We need to share custody. I don't know what that means. Everybody is loving it. Again, these guys composed the song and put it together, and it was released this past weekend as a tribute. And it's such a difficult thing, but that's what racers do. They make the best of a terrible situation, and they move forward, and they do what they know we all want to do, which is go racing. And the guys that make it possible for me to do what I do, you know them, of course. I just want to name check Marvin Rodak, of course. Marvin is one of our first shows. He reached out. I was talking about bacon, right? Bacon. Who doesn't love bacon? And Marvin is like, hey, man. And we put a deal together, and he's been supporting the show ever since. If you ever, need something, coffee, hot sauce, spice rub, call Marvin. Frank Hawley, same deal. The McGahey family of licensed driver has expanded. That's great news. You want to drive a dragster, call Frank. Go to frankhawley.com to find more. And samtech.edu. They've got classes getting ready to get started, machining classes, motorsport EFI tuning. Go to samtech.edu. Tell them you heard it on WFO radio. We are a bit of a brotherhood, and this is how I got here, guys. This is the 1978 Pontiac Trans Am that my dad bought brand new in 1978. And I remember crying as a little kid, 5 years old, like, oh man, I want to keep the car that I always knew. I don't want this new car. What's that thing? And that turned out to be a very bad decision that I didn't know what I was doing. Clearly it turned into probably the sole reason that I am here, right? Like I won a track championship and I talked about it endlessly. But over the years of my track announcing, with all the travel, it kind of fell into disrepair. And so it's been a topic on the Ignition Show. I don't talk about it too much here over on Nitro because this show is not really about me. It's about NHRA. It's about the racers. It's about the winning drivers. It's not really about me. But I am going to bring this over, and it's going to be part of our YouTube channel. And we're working on the name, but something along the lines of this as we bring this thing back to hopefully better than it has ever been. You may recall it's been a while ago now that I pulled the engine out of the thing, and it's been sitting in my garage, and I've been trying to get it to the right place in our local community. Of course, a lot of people who used to do things have passed on, like in the song, right? Like, why should I wait till I'm in the back of a hearse to tell you something I can tell you now? So many friends, people that were knowledgeable, moved away, passed on, no longer involved, no longer with us. But this has got to get done while these people are with us, or while, most importantly, my dad is with us. And so this past weekend, with a lot of help from some folks out there, Dave and Sue Morris, Gary Stinnett telling me, like, this is what you got to do. You got to build this crate, and you got to get a pallet. And I'm bothering my friends. Like, do you have a pallet? Who's got a pallet? I got to get a pallet. I'm going to searching for a pallet. And my friends want to kill me searching for this pallet. But next thing you know, I'm buying wood. I'm cutting wood. I'm crating it up. I'm palleting it up. My great friend Robert comes over and helps me with this whole process, getting it off the stand, putting it on the pallet, putting it, boxing it up. And then the folks at R&L Carriers came to pick it up. And I thought that was super cool because, Josh Hart is a sponsor with Bernie's. And the least I can do is, if there's going to be a trucking company involved, it's obviously got to be one that supports someone in the sport of drag racing. So we're off and running. We don't know if this is going to be the actual name. Got Project 78, Project Poncho. Bottom line, what's the goal? Some people said, make it a pro touring car, Joe. That's what you need to do. Other people said, put it back on the street, Joe. That's what you got. A 1978 Trans Am with 60,000 original miles out there. Put it on the street. Go cruise it around. Make it a pro street car. Go do that. And it's something that I considerably thought about. But in the end, I work for the NHRA. I love NHRA drag racing. The car weighs 3,200 pounds. The only thing it could really ever do is run super street, which I often say is my favorite category because of the size and the heaviness and the just stock appearance of these cars. The easiest, most affordable road to NHRA national event competition. That doesn't mean it's easy by any means. And so that's what we're going to do. And if I can run one divisional race a year and some big money bracket races over in Bradenton, that's what I'm going to do, because those are the people that I race with and I respect what they do. And to be able to get out there every once in a while and mix it up, it will be great. Plus, I also think it could be inspirational to people out there who would also like to do that. You know, like not everybody can afford to run a 6-second Pro Mod car. You just can't. That's elite level racing for elite level people. And the budget is elite. It's huge. This is going to be something affordable. I got the car. I'm on the 5-yard line with it. It's got a 4-link. It's tubbed. It's been in magazines. It's great, but there's a considerable amount of work that needs to be done. And that's where Gary Stinnett's Automotive coming in. The engine is on his way out there to Kansas. I will be out there in a couple of weeks for the Division 5 banquet. I'm going to shoot out there and check out the engine. And we're going to follow this story from where we are to where we end up. And you are welcome to follow along. And I think the YouTube channel is the best place. Of course, we encourage you to subscribe to WFO and all of our versions, especially the podcast. But WFO Radio TV on YouTube, you're going to be able to follow some of the shorts and the little links and just little updates that I do as we do this. Now, yes, this is a Ford Blue Pontiac. I know what you're thinking. I already got called out a couple of times on the social media. There's a story behind everything, and we're going to link it all together. And we're going to do our best to make this a known build project that people who don't understand .90 racing can follow and understand how difficult and challenging it is and how much fun it is for those that are involved. And that's the goal. And now it's going. And we took a big step forward this past weekend, getting that thing on the back of an RL Carriers truck. So thank you to everyone who has helped so far. Thank you to everyone who has pledged their help in the future. And what's going to happen, right? Like, well, we don't know. My goal was to get it to Gary. That's it. He's got to analyze, like Reinhart looking at those pistons. He's got to analyze, like, what are they? Are they any good? Are they good? Can we keep it? Do we keep things as they are? Do we need new pistons? Do we need new cylinder heads? What do we need? How fast do we want to go? What do we want to do? All of these things. Obviously, budget is a big part of this. But we'll see. We'll see. And I welcome you to follow along on WFO Radio TV. And there you go. Let's see what people have to say about what is going on out there. Eddie, talking about the song and the video. I agree, Eddie. Billy Carroll, great find. Thanks for sharing. It's out there on social media. You can go to Drag Race Australia or Top Fuel Australia or Sydney Dragway. Find it in the feeds. It is also in my feed. And I was just proud that they were cool with us debuting it. And I hope everybody down there understands. And this is true for Europe and the UK and the Middle East. I know Reinhardt's been in the Middle East, but the drag racing community is all one big thing. I think I saw Marla in one of those videos, by the way, down under. Beautiful song. Very cool. NHRA and Fox needs to license this and use it. Maybe they should. I think they should. Derek, maybe NHRA.com will pick it up. Maybe Competition Plus will pick it up. I know that the WFO audience is intense as anything. It's very intense. But I think it would be great if more people pick that up and spread it as a drag racing anthem for bigger times and beyond. Great song, video. I hope you have my letter. Jimmy, I do have your letter somewhere. I got it the other day. Great show today, as usual, Joe. And also, thank you, everybody, for the birthday wishes. You know, we didn't really talk about it on the show. Turned 50 yesterday and had a show last night. It was very fun. And it's all tying together, right? Like passing of people that we respect and getting a little bit older and all that retrospective stuff, garbage that comes along with it. Drag racing is one big family, moving very emotional. Thank you, Dragster Jeff. Marvin is iced in, probably camped out at the shop. Yeah, down south, man, Texas. Got a lot of ice. Don't mean to interrupt, my attention in the pits just went live. Yes, the RX-7. If you don't watch Attention in the Pits this week, guys, I'm not telling you you're not a drag racing fan, but you're going to love this kid. You're going to love him. You're going to love him. You're going to love him. He is the epitome of what the passion for drag racing. Go check it out. And you're like, RX-7, I don't like. Listen, there's a small block in there, so don't get upset. Hey, Joe, anything new on PBIR? Oh, man, I so wish that I could see all these Facebook users. You see this? They're in our WFO group, and they have not enabled our StreamYard software to read their name. It is too bad. Yes, new information on PBIR. And I got to tell you, I was not able to go to the meeting. Madeline Marconi, who has appeared on this show and gotten us up to speed after the first great victory that we had last year, went to war once again, and they won. They won. The track owners went for a site change update to the city commissioners so that they could build warehouses on the side of the track, and they were told no. And that's where we are. Now, what does it mean? Does it mean the track is coming back? No, it doesn't mean that just yet. It means that they can't build warehouses there. So what's it worth? What are they going to do? What's going to happen? We don't know. The prospect for Palm Beach International Raceway being a raceway just went from, dead to a little blip, a little tiny blip of life. And hopefully all of those people who said in the very beginning, no, you're never going to stop progress. You're never going to stop it. You're never going to go to war with those big money guys and win. This young lady, Madeline Marconi, has been fighting the fight. A bunch of other racers, Mark from Murray Speed and Custom down here in South Florida back in the day, they went there. They all got together. Something like 70 people went there, and they fought, and they got another small victory in this battle. And there's life. There's life. So if you want to support, like we're going to try to put together, I don't know, Antron Brown did a video that they played for the commission. Like, this thing is going. The fight is still happening. So as of now, as I understand it, it can't be warehouses in this beautiful nature-packed, swampland Everglades. It can't have 400 trucks going in and out and in and out. That's not what it's going to be. Can it go back to being a racetrack? They sold the bleachers. Big deal. We can race without bleachers. Nobody sits in them anywhere. Anyway, it's part of the hangout. You go out there. They could put a berm. You could bring a blanket. You could back your trucks up there. They still got the walls. They still got the tower. They still got the track. They still got the lights. They still got the asphalt, as I understand it. And so PBIR, still alive. 5 shots and still alive. Gary saying, what's up from Montana Karting? Final strike. Did Clay get more funding? Yes, Clay did get more funding last year. They got more funding. Clay Milliken. Man, I had to text him. I'll tell you in a second. WFO Poncho. Poncho. Poncho's, I get it. It's a nickname for Pontiac, but it's also something you wear in the rain. That is a good beefy palate, Joe. Yes, thank you, Derek. I got a good beefy palate. That's what they say about me. My attention in the pits just went live. Thank you so much, Dawson Pauly. Thank you very much, Dawson. Way to sign in on StreamYard. Good job, Joe's Poncho. That's right. Super Street. I want to make it about Super Street. Yes, Dawson. Did you like it, Dawson? You did so great, bud. You did so great. And it was recommended. You were recommended to us, and you did a great job. The only thing is Dawson got down to 3 cars, I believe, in that event. Like, he took that energy and he went all the way to the semifinal. It might have been the final, but I think it was the semifinal. We're talking about the fall race at ZMAX Dragway. And we were monitoring him. And if we do an attention to the pits and the guy gets to the final, I don't know, we got to cover it somehow. Got to cover it. But way to go, Dawson. Great job on the track. JP Gutierrez, pretty cool. You've got the perfect Super Street car. It's a little heavy and it's a little slow, but both of those things I can deal with. None out there better than Gary. Gary Stinnett, of course. Drag Racer Joe, Pontiac Joe. I'm a new fan of Dawson, says Jim Essex. Of course, anybody that watches Dawson is going to become a fan. Dawson, you need to up your social media, bro. You need to get out there, man. You need to start doing vids and stuff, or unless he's already doing them and I'm just not seeing them because I don't follow him. That'd be bad. Get out there, Joe. We'll be looking for you soon. No pressure, guys, please. Gary is the best. Yes, I'm super excited about that Gary guy. He's pretty good. I'm very excited about it. Thanks, Jim, says Dawson. Everybody is weighing in, man. Another great show. Get Billy Carroll to sponsor you. Didn't Billy Carroll just get some sort of big award? Billy Carroll just got a big award. Sorry, Billy, for not knowing it, but the WFO universe just needs to know that you're award-winning Billy Carroll. That's how we do it. I was in high school in Gary Dencham's class. He was running Venolia pistons. with those buttons. And Gary Stinnett is going to be so surprised to see Venolia pistons inside that Pontiac engine. That's part of what I'm excited about, to see what Gary thinks about what's in there. You know, is this garbage? Is it good? What's he going to say? Rods, pistons, all that. It's kind of interesting. Maybe a wolf in sheep's clothing. Mike says 50. You don't look a day over 49. I'm officially lying to everybody that it's 42 right now. You all know, but don't tell anyone. Ageism is real, guys, especially in the industry I'm in. Ageism is real. They will fire your butt because you're old. Not because you look old, just because you're old. They'll do it. And if I ever get fired, that's the reason. Ageism, guys. So remember, 42. Greg, should I send a link to my RFC chaplain? Absolutely. Let's get that out there. I hope you have my letter. Got your letter. I think it might. I'll find it, Jimmy. Thank you, though. And I'm going to send you your stickers. Like, people are going to get stickers. I still send out free stickers. It's up there in the WFO store. Everybody's saying happy birthday. Everybody's saying what's up. What a show this has been. Happy birthday to you, me, Joe. Go to StreamYard on Facebook so you can sign in. I'm really kind of stalling because I'm hoping to see what the gag team has put out. Aren't they going to release their new livery? Yeah, I'm not finding it. But new scheme for Tony Schumacher, 2 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. Unleashing the new deal. So let's go over to the Twitter. And we don't see it just yet. It's after 2 p.m. Eastern. Oh, well, you can all go to the Tony Schumacher Facebook stuff and follow it. Pro Stock Blazer or other SUVs. That could be interesting. They tried Pro Stock Truck for a while. It didn't work out. Different story. I do suggest you all join Patreon for the year, though. And that way you can hear it from Heiner and all the other great stuff and be part of the secret society. Anybody that joins for the entire year is going to get a free WFO Radio t-shirt along with everything else. Clay was at the Daytona Rolex 24. Clay Milliken, this guy. Clay, I'm calling you out. And this is going to be the last thing I say on this show. Clay finds not one, but two perfect Pontiac GTOs, 2006 Pontiac GTOs that were by a collector somewhere in Memphis area, Tennessee area, his home. And he buys one. It's got 1,300 miles. This is a Pontiac GTO with an LS2 independent rear suspension made by Holden for Pontiac. Does Holden exist? No. Does Pontiac exist? No. It's double collectible. It doesn't exist on the earth anymore. And by the way, like, I thought mine was good because it's got 17,000 miles. I was feeling pretty puffed up about my 2005 GTO with 17,000 miles. Maybe I'll sell it. It's a collectible car. Here comes Clay. 1,300 miles. And they're going to cut it up. They're going to paint it. They're going to do a project. And I texted him, Clay, are you crazy? What are you doing with this collectible car? Just wait 10 years, man. The thing's going to be worth $150,000. There are none of them. They're gone. They don't exist. The GTO, 1,300 miles, you put that in you put it in a cave somewhere. They're going to cut it. And he thinks it's going to draw attention to cutting it. And it's going to become a valued car. It's going to look, I can't tell you what they're going to do. Thank you, Billy. Greg, happy birthday. Everybody saying happy birthday. And this is, you need Gary on the show to discuss it. That's a brilliant idea, Jeff. We'll both be 42 on August 24th. That's right. That's exactly it. All right, guys, that is going to do it. Thank you very much for enjoying the show. If you're a new listener, first-time listener, we had a lot of people watch the Wilkerson show, and hopefully they found the show. Our subscribers went up. We started the YouTube game very, very late. We started YouTube very, very late, so our YouTube numbers are closing in on 2,000, and I feel like that's great. That's my strategy around growth. We just grow as we grow. But if you want to click subscribe, WFO Radio TV, click the bell, enable push notifications. We have a free mobile app, all that stuff. You're going to get all of NHRA 2023. Didn't Pro Stock Truck end with, yeah, we don't talk about that, Don Lemon. It's a dark time. Happy Fitty. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm excited. A whole new decade to go after it. But remember, 42. Thanks to the folks at Total Seal, FTI, Foggett, of course. $20. You protect your high-performance racing engine cylinder walls as best as is possible. You're about to put your racing engine away in Orlando in the Florida humidity, right by the sea. It's going to be loaded with condensation. Protect your cylinder walls. It also works on firearms, too. Go to Foggett.com and get yourself a bottle. Or a can. It was the last thing I did before I crated up the engine. Phillips Connect, Smart Trailer Technology, Bernie's Speed Shop, BURNYZZ.com. Check out all their inventory. Samtech.edu. Marvin Rodak, who is iced in down there in Fort Worth, Texas. Why don't you call Marvin? He's probably bored by now, and order a little coffee. And Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. We have got ourselves a full year drag racing coming up. But it all starts at Orlando Speed World this weekend. Will there be a show tomorrow? Maybe, maybe not. I'm getting ready for Jamlando. We'll see you there. All right, guys. WFO.